Hey, kids, it's the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A good afternoon, may I be the first to say. It's 12:04. Maybe somebody slipped in there before me, but regardless, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. It should be met with a few showers here and there, depending on where you are. It will be met with much discussion about politics, national and otherwise. We will have a good time until 3 o'clock. We hand off to Brian Wilson at that time, and I hope you're able to spend as much time as possible with us for the duration of the day. It's our episode 363, Tuesday, June 20, 2023. Listen on any and all platforms available to you. I particularly enjoy those of you who go on over to Talk TV. That is on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and to Twitch. If you look up Super Talk 99.7 WTN, I don't think you can miss us. And there I am, my happy little mug with the whiteboard in the background and the American flag and the flag of the state of Tennessee. They're adjacent to said whiteboard, and we appreciate all of you on Talk TV. It has been over the last couple of days an absolute. It's like been in some case. Earlier today we had a frog strangler come down in Mount Juliet. You know what a frog strangler is? Never heard of frog strangler? Headless Bell K is joining us from behind the glass. He makes sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. He chooses not to be on Talk TV, which is why we call him Headless Bell. You've never heard of that? No, and I've never. Is that like some kind of serial killer thing? Frog strangler? Yeah. Well, no, you don't it's not like you're killing them. Although,
well, then why would you strangle them? Is it sexual?
It is not.
Okay, I'm lost.
A really, really heavy rain. My grandpa used to call that a frog strangler or a froggy strangler.
I'm from the South, and I've never heard that one
It's
before.
a really, if a real heavy rain, because the frogs look up and the water goes in their mouths is the idea.
Oh.
So it's raining so hard that even a frog would get strangled from the rain. It's a frog strangler. Raining cats and dogs?
Yes, definitely, always.
Have you seen the, while we're squirreled, go ahead and give it to me. While we're squirreled, have you seen the squirrel? There's an internet there. It popped up on my feed. It went viral. And it's one of these, the guy's talking to himself, but he's different people.
Yes.
You know, they do that. And he goes, man, it's literally raining cats and dogs out there. So it starts a series of one guy is using words, phrases, or whatnot incorrectly. Because he goes, it's literally raining cats and dogs out there. And the guy's literally raining cats and dogs. So there's puppies and kittens outside right now falling out of this. Well, no, man. And then it goes on, and he uses like, irregardless of this discussion. It's regardless. And
I couldn't care less.
then it circles back after a couple of minutes, and the guy goes, I'm literally going to die from this conversation. And the guy goes, ooh, you used it. And it cuts back to him, and the guy's on the floor. Anyway. Hope everybody had a good weekend. If yesterday was an off day for you, hope you had a nice off day. I know it wasn't for some. It was for others. It was for us. It was a company holiday, and so we took advantage of it. I mentioned...
Did you see the title of the stream?
I did not. I need to do more on the stream. I need to get over there. Well, you can tell me. Tell us. What's the title of the stream?
Monday on a Wednesday Eve. Deal with it.
See, I don't understand what you don't understand about it. Really, the Eve thing really, really bothers me. I mean, it really bothers me.
If that's the worst thing that's going on in your life that is a negative, then, man, I want to be you.
I mean, just, you know what? Here's where I'm at on it. Obviously, every time Dan Mandis says that it's Friday Eve on a Thursday, a puppy dies. We know that.
Yes.
It is a fact. I don't have any control over the puppy dying. Dan doesn't have, but it happens. When he says Friday Eve, puppy dies. But for the rest of you, you want to look foolish? You have at it. I mean, that's your business.
I am a cat guy.
So you can say. Now, if kittens start dying, we'll reassess the situation.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it again.
But as long as it's just the puppies. Anyway, yesterday, I'm out and about, and all afternoon, I'm yelling at people to get out of my way. I was like, why are there so many cars out on a Sunday? No, it wasn't Sunday. It was
Tuesday Eve.
It was Monday. We've got a lot to get into. I hope that you're able to spend some time with us on the phone lines. If you want to turn a monologue into a dialogue or a dialogue into a trialogue, as the case may be, you may do so by calling up 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. We also have an opportunity for you to join us on the super text line. And that is the same telephone number. So if you choose not to call, some of you just don't wish to or don't have the time to. I like telephone calls. I like that interaction. I like the spontaneity of it. I like the fact that we never know what's going to happen from one sentence to the next. But you know what? If the Super Text line has become a valuable resource on my show and on the radio station generally, so we appreciate you interacting in that fashion as well. 615-737-9986. I came up with, before I go any further, before I get into the real news, do not let me forget, Bell, to tell you about the television show that I came up with over the weekend. Did you see my Twitter feed? I think this would be. I think it'd be a home run.
I didn't see that.
So last night, I'll go ahead and tell you. Last night, the wife and I are watching Antiques, is it Antique or Antiques? Antique Roadshow. I think it's Antique.
Yeah. Singular.
Antique Roadshow, which is a big hit in the Murphy compound. I don't know why, but it is. I guess you either like it or you don't.
I find it really interesting.
I need to. And this woman, like, for example, this woman had a painting that her mother gave her, and she remembered it was on my mom's wall all of my childhood. It was in the bedroom. She gave it to me. It's been in my bedroom for all of my childhood. And do you know where your mom got it? Well, she took a visit to Sweden. I think she got it in Switzerland, blah, 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 blah. And it turns out it's by these famous artists, and it was worth $300,000. And the woman's reaction was awesome because she said, well, that's terrible. And the guy's like, what? And she said, I like it. I like the painting. I get it. She's like, well, I can't have it on my wall anymore. Now I've got to sell it so I can go to retirement home or whatever. She realized that if it's worth that much money, she just can't hang it in her bedroom anymore.
No, it's always been worth that much money. You just didn't know it, and it was still on your wall.
Well, it reminded me of for a long time, this held the record of the most expensive item. They actually called it priceless on Antique Roadshow. It was an Indian, like an old Navajo.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And the guy's like, it's been on the back of my couch for the last 15 years. And he said, sir, this is a national treasure. You have a priceless national treasure.
Yep. And it was a throw rug, basically.
right. He's just throwing it around the house, covering up with it when you get a little chilly. So my idea is a show called Combat Antique Roadshow, because I just want these nerds that come from Sotheby's and Christie's and all of these other auction houses or whatever, the people that are the experts. I just think it would be awesome. You know, you're standing there and, oh, this is a side table that was in my grandparents' house, and we were told it was from the French Providence and that it's 1678. And the guy says, well, you're right. This is very, very similar to one of those, but I got bad news. And just grabs a sledgehammer and just starts wailing on it. It's worthless!
At least it is now.
Or conversely, when they tell somebody something's worth like $50,000, then they have to cut them a check right then, or they get their asses whipped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I want my money.
Or this is worthless, and they kind of sneak it out the back door.
Or they argue with them. This is not. No, I'm telling you. And you could have a recurring segment called "It's Never Frickin' Tiffany Glass, You Idiot." Because everybody goes on there and, I think it's Tiffany glass. No, it's not.
It's not from the Ming Dynasty.
This is not a Ming vase, you boob. What's wrong with you? Combat Antique Roadshow. That's my idea. Y'all do with. I'm an idea guy. Y'all go do with it what you will. Okay, it is the ultimate blood sport happens in Washington, D.C. We always say politics is the ultimate blood sport, and we got a dose of that today. If you're watching on Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, you will you'll see the whiteboard, and the whiteboard says, "Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain." It is a reference to the Wizard of Oz. For those unfamiliar, and I can't imagine that many of you are. There's a point when Dorothy, Scarecrow, Cowardly Lion, what was the other? Tin Man. Poor Buddy Ebsen. It's a side story to that tale. Anyway, they come back to the wizard, and, the wizard's like this face, the bros, and the real guy that's doing it is the huckster. Spoiler alert on the Wizard of Oz, just in case you're planning on going out and seeing it. I'm going to reveal some things that happen at the end. Yeah, so while they're all scared, and you do what I say, and the Toto runs over and pulls the curtain back, and there's a guy doing all the gears, and he's a huckster, and pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's the Hunter Biden story in a nutshell. It has gotten to a point in terms of the investigation into Joe Biden that the Democrats believe the best that they can get out of this is to shut it down right here and right now, give Hunter Biden a sweetheart deal that nobody gets regarding tax evasion. If other celebrities received the same treatment that Hunter Biden is receiving based on his tax evasion, Al Capone would have died of syphilis without having spent any time in prison, right? Ultimately, they got Al Capone on tax evasion for not paying taxes on the ill-gotten gains that he received. How is that different? Tell me how the Hunter Biden case is any different than Al Capone. Hunter Biden was doing illegal crap with illegal people, and he earned money doing illegal crap with illegal people. And they've got him on tax evasion and felonious, he lied on his firearm application. And now in the sweetheart deal of sweetheart deals, Hunter Biden will serve no time in jail because his father is president of the United States, and because his father was complicit in the deal to begin with, and because the entire arrangement between the DOJ, whether they know it or not, Hunter Biden's people, the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, and on until you get to the president of the United States, doesn't involve saving a Hunter. That's one thing. It involves saving Joe. That's the real story. This was an ace in the hole that the Democrats running the show for Biden, the Biden machine, and I don't believe Joe Biden's running any of this. He's too infirm. I mean, maybe at one point Joe Biden had such a handle on the Biden scheming that he could have prevented us from getting to this point, but that ship has sailed. This was the ace card, in my estimation, that they always had to play. We'll give Hunter a sweetheart deal, we'll call it case closed, and we'll move on from it. Because the liberals have something that Republicans will seemingly never have, and that is fairness. Well, the Republicans have no fairness in the media, and the liberals get a free pass. So it is, it's a fait accompli how the media is going to handle this. And it's the ultimate reason the media the Democrats understand that they can play this card. So they play their final card in this game. Now, I don't think this ends it whatsoever. And I think institutions like talk radio, this radio show, this radio station, this medium, organizations like Newsmax and others, Twitter and that space on social media, and to a certain degree Fox News, all of this will eventually come out if given the ability. What the Department of Justice is getting ready to do is shut all of this down and to deny Republicans any additional access to the trail of money that leads to Joe Biden. The ultimate question, for those of you following this, Hunter Biden did not report like $1.5 million worth of income in 2017 into 2018. And it's one question as to what his punishment should be for evading paying his taxes on that earned income. It's another thing entirely to ask this question: where did this money come from? Because the belief is it came from Ukraine, and it was washed and filtered before it got to Hunter Biden. But there's a trail that leads back to Hunter, and more importantly, to Jim and to Joe, the Biden brothers, orchestrating this entire event. This is not justice served, in as much as this story goes deeper. Plus, nobody gets this sweetheart deal. And I thought Democrats were the party of believing that you needed to pay your fair share in taxes and that we are not a two-tier justice system. Would you please do me a favor, Bell, at some point this hour, because we're clean of guests this hour, would you mind pulling me the Jack Smith press conference? It's only about 2 or 3 minutes long. I want to listen to that press conference. I want to listen to Jack Smith with a straight face from the Department of Justice tell us that there is one set of laws for all Americans in the United States of America, and only one. I want to listen to him as he describes the prosecution of Donald Trump, explaining to us that we have one set of laws and one system of justice only, and that your last name doesn't get you cleared of the wrongdoing that you committed. I want to hear that, because it's Bravo Sierra. It's Bravo Sierra. But they know. You got it? Well, we'll do it in a second. The political elites on the left understand that they have the MSM in their pocket. And so expect that hashtag never CNN, garbage network full of garbage people. Don't watch this. Don't watch the television. Don't watch CNN. I'll do it so you don't have to. I'll report anything that you need to know. Otherwise, it's garbage. Hashtag never CNN, MSNBC, garbage too, but they admit that they're garbage, so I give them a pass. ABC, CBS, NBC, all of these outlets, plus the New York Times, Washington Post, which leads a lot of the reporting on these other networks, expect in the next couple of days they're going to announce to you case closed on Hunter Biden. And any further inquiry into where Hunter Biden got his money and the entanglements in Ukraine and China and other nations, all of that they will claim is put to bed as a result of this conclusion.
You want to get high?
So you're dealing with an erroneous conclusion, or at least an unfair conclusion in terms of the two-tier justice system, and you're also dealing with a totally different and more important aspect of this story about where the money came from and what sort of bribery was going on. Folks, it's dirty, dirty, dirty. And all roads lead to Sloppy Joe. And by extension, really to the Obamas. Because I have a hard time believing that the Obamas or someone in that inner circle did not know what Joe Biden was doing when he was vice president of the United States. Your calls coming up as we get this lunch hour underway. We've got this submarine story is just wearing me. I mean, these people are gone, right? I mean, I can hold out hope with the best of them, but my goodness gracious. If you've not heard about the Titanic tourist submarine, I'll tell you all about that. They departed about an hour and 45 minutes into their departure. The coast lost contact with them, and now they don't know where they are. And they only have about 40 hours of oxygen left if they're still alive in the compartment, which, if so, is like a movie. It's like a scene out of a movie. All right, so rain showers. A lot of stuff going on in Washington, D.C. We still have the update on the manifesto case to tell you about. The family has now spoken publicly. Some of the families of the slain children have spoken publicly. That's a very delicate subject, but you cannot base the rules of law and the rules of public information based on feelings. And sadly, the family wants to prevent what is rightly public information from becoming public. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss some more of Biden's blunders. Did you see? I've got so much to do. It's 22 after the hour. Do a quick timeout and be back in a moment on Super Talk. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk about some other forms of entertainment that I am excited about and I heartily endorse, like Steve Abramowitz and the Mill Creek View, Tennessee podcast. So the Tennessean described him as a conservative advocacy podcast. I think that's accurate. I also think Steve is much more than that. Of course, he discusses politics. He centers in on Franklin, Tennessee, and the surrounding areas in Williamson and Davidson County and beyond. But he also talks national and international politics. But it's more than that as well. He talks sports, entertainment, culture. He has authors on, artists on. I was on there at one point. I don't know why, but I was on there at one point. Frequently the number one podcast on Podomatic and politics. He's found on any of your platforms like iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, all of your favorite podcast areas. Mill Creek View, Tennessee. I encourage it. I recommend it. Steve is also the CEO and editor-in-chief of the Mill Creek View newspaper, and you can find that at mcview.us. That's mcview.us. U.S. But join Steve with his Steve and Steve segments and so much more on his podcast. It's Mill Creek View, Tennessee. Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. You guys know Brink Fiddler. He makes frequent appearances on the Matt Murphy Show. As a matter of fact, I spoke to Brink just earlier today, asking him a few questions about some of the things going on in our world. It's a dangerous world right now, and you need training. If you're a decision maker in an office building, if you're a decision maker at a school, at a church, or really any place that people gather on a regular basis, listen up, because Brink provides active shooter response training, workplace violence prevention training. He does site surveys and will be happy to assess the threats that might be around your office place or business or school. He also does rapid response medical training, all customized for your facility. And while Brink is busy these days, sadly, I mean, I wish he'd go out of business for a lack of business, but sadly, it's a dangerous world. And hope is not a plan. And I say that often, and it's true. That you can hope that nothing happens to you, and you're probably going to be right. But what if it does? It's time to get trained with Defense Systems. DefenseSystems.com is the website. That's DefenseSystems.com. Or reach out today at 615-236-6484. 236-6484 for Defense Systems. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Phone lines ablaze. 615-737-9986. You're welcome to be a part of the show. In the 2 o'clock hour, Congressman Tim Burchett. I'm saying that right, huh? Burchett? Yeah. I thought it was Burchett. Burchett. Okay, whatever. He's here.
This is Tennessee. We don't need to get fancy.
I'm trying to do my best. We've got that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. You and me until then. Lots to get into. 2418 writes from the super text line. This is interesting. Matt is a Nashville-based appraiser on PBS's Antiques Roadshow at the Arms and Militaria table. I appreciate your shout-out about the show. I love the show. Everybody's got stuff they would take, right? Except for maybe Bell. But other than Bell, everybody's got, one or two things that you would, I'd like to see what. For what it's worth, your Combat Antiques Roadshow idea sort of plays itself out behind the scenes in nearly every city where we tape. For all the appraisals that make it to television, there are thousands of them that don't. We regularly have to tell people that the treasures they've brought with them are fake, worthless, or even complete fantasy fabrications. While most of the guests take the information in stride, some do not and want to argue about our assessment of the item. It's at that point your sledgehammer might be handy. We also have joked about bringing a gong along as well to let these people know who want to argue with us that it is time to move along so we can see the next guest. I imagine that part of the show, they bring some people on that have phonies and fakes that think they have big stuff and they get told otherwise. But I can understand it, right? You can understand the emotion that grandma told you that this item was from 1680. And they had all this backstory about how it was from Louis XIV's boudoir and blah, 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 blah. And you've grown up, your mother grew up believing the story. You grew up believing the story. You've related the story to just about everyone that's ever come into your home about the item that comments on it. Oh, that was from Louis XIV's boudoir, blah, blah, blah. And then you have some schmucko in a bow tie telling you that it's not true, that this was actually made in 1898 and it's worth $400. I can understand why you would get a little upset by that. But you know what? If you don't want honest answers, don't ask questions. But I love it, 2418. I would love to have you reach back out to me, 2418. I would love, if you're able, to have you on the show at some point, like on a Thursday or Friday, and talk about the behind the scenes of Antiques Roadshow. I think that would be a lot of fun. And it is, according to 2418, Bell, it's Antiques Roadshow. He put an S in it.
Oh, then I think he would probably know.
I think he would too. That's very interesting. All right, so your calls on Hunter Biden. I really want your thoughts on this. Was justice served? It doesn't seem to me that it was. It seems to me that there's a lot of questions that linger, but I promise you most in the media are going to put this to bed as per design. Ron is in Manchester. Ron, good afternoon.
Thank you.
What's on your mind, Ron?
A couple of reasons why nothing will happen to Hunter Biden. First, is often discussed that the people that have to go get them are working for the president. The mechanism to get them is the Department of Justice, and they're working for Joe. Now, another thing that is not often discussed is Joe has had 50 years to collect dirt on all the Republicans that are going to go after him, and if they get too close, he's going to bring it out. And I do have a question for you. Does this conviction give another reason why they're not going to go any further?
Wait, ask the question one more time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Does this recent conviction mean that they can't go any further? I don't really know.
Well, it's not a conviction. It's a guilty plea. It's an agreement by the prosecution and the accused, and they seem to have signed off on a plea deal that would lead to no jail time and lead to him having to pay some level of restitution and admitting some level of guilt. They claim the Department of Justice claims the investigation is still ongoing. They did so in their announcement of the plea deal. But, Ron, here's the deal. If they closed the investigation, then the Republican-led oversight committee in the House of Representatives would have the authority to subpoena all of that information, every bit of it. And the Department of Justice could not deny them that because the investigation's closed. Right now, they deny them this information because they say it's an ongoing investigation. You with me so far?
I'm with you, but
okay.
All the dirt that can come out on the Republicans.
I don't understand that's just your speculation, right? You feel like because he's been up there 50 years, he knows where the bodies are buried?
Yes.
I don't know that I don't know that that's necessarily true. I don't know that there's a Republican in Washington, D.C. that doesn't get thrown under the bus immediately when information is discovered about wrongdoing or malfeasance.
That's good. It's a good discussion. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
no. I mean, absolutely. I appreciate it, Ron. I understand where Ron's coming from. That if Joe Biden is in he's a dirty guy in a dirty town. And if he's a dirty guy in a dirty town doing dirty things, Ron, I hope you're still listening. This is kind of your theory. That if you've been 50 years a dirty guy in a dirty town doing dirty things, then by all likelihood, you've encountered Republicans doing similar dirty things. I would suggest that any Republican that Joe Biden had dirt on has either left Washington, but more broadly, when Republicans have a little something going on, the mainstream media is on them like flies on Stinky. They don't do that sort of due diligence with Democrats. So I would suggest to you, I'm not a Pollyanna enough to believe, I'm way late. Man, goodness, I'm sorry. I'll finish this thought in a second. It's 12:34. I forget because there's no news. It's 12:34 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mark at the Safe House wants you to know a few things. Thing number one, there are incredible savings to be had at the Safe House right now through their rebate program. The Browning Company has rebated many of their safes of all sizes, and it's a rebate program like the likes of which Mark has never seen. Mark says these are the biggest rebates that he's seen from Browning since he's been in the safe business, and that's been a long time, over 30 years. Secondarily, sadly, I've got to tell you something, the prices are going up at the Safe House. No, Mark's not going up on his prices. Mark's prices are still low. It's the state that is now returning a sales tax on gun safes at the end of the month. You've got 10 short days, friends, to take advantage of a lack of sales tax, and that could save you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That's dinners out, that's movies, whatever you might want to do with the money. It's your money. Don't lose it because you're waiting to buy a safe. Go now to the Safe House. They're on 4th Avenue South, a simple drive from really anywhere within the sound of my voice. Great location and a great amount of safes. Plus, NashvilleSafeHouse.com. NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Call Mark or join him today at the Safe House. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. It's 2 locations now to serve you. One is in Midtown Nashville, their location for well over 2 decades. The second is in Franklin and in Cool Springs. Let's talk about what they do. So the Tennessee Men's Clinic deals with men's health and men's health only. It's a good idea to get your numbers checked, gentlemen, and you don't do it. I know. You don't worry about that blood pressure, that cholesterol, or that T level, but you should. And if you're feeling sluggish or worn down, you need to eliminate reasons why that might be. And if you couple this with, dare I say, a lack of enthusiasm in the bedroom, I mean, I don't like talking about your business, but there's no shame in that game because half of men in America will at some point experience this. You don't want to be one of those guys without doing everything possible to make sure that you keep up in your middle age and beyond. So let's get to Tennessee Men's Clinic. Get those numbers checked. It's a simple procedure, and you'll get numbers back about an hour after you give a little bit of blood. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or give them a call today, 615-208-9090, 208-9090. It's Tennessee Men's Clinic. Super Talk 99.7. WTN. Man, I'm currently emptying I didn't realize, I get so confused with technology sometimes. If you've had a bounce back from me, if you've emailed me for some reason and you've had a bounce back, I sincerely apologize because I was not emptying the proper folder. I thought I was, and I wasn't. And so my email inbox is full. How was that you? That's kind of fortuitous. That's like the sound of the email inbox being emptied out, which is what I'm doing right now. Jason writes in and says, are you going to ruin this segment too? I can't watch Wizard of Oz anymore, so thanks. Next thing you're going to tell me is there's no Easter Bunny. Of course there's an Easter Bunny.
The shark in Jaws was not real.
No,
Deal
that's
with
not.
it. Deal with it. Deal with it.
Buddy, that is not true, friend. And here's how I know. Because they had trained sharks and they couldn't get the trained shark to act right. That's why you don't see it for the first half of the film, is because they couldn't get it to do what it was supposed to do. Wrong! Bell is wrong. Bell is wrong. No?
No.
What was I saying to? I completely lost my train of thought on Ron. I got waylaid by the time. Here's the deal.
Squirrel.
I do not believe that there are Joe Biden. I don't think has dirt on anybody. I don't. Maybe he has a little this or a little that, but nothing along the lines of what he's being accused of doing. Bottom line is this: rules are for thee and not for me when it comes to the Democrats in Washington, D.C. And the main reason behind that is because they have the mainstream media on their side. For 2.5 years, the mainstream media led the public narrative regarding Russian collusion in a way where we ignored all of the successes of the Trump administration. Secondarily, they led the discussion regarding COVID. They blew COVID up into what, I mean, I understand that COVID was a serious mutation of the flu, and it was something to be taken seriously, but they created it into a political football and put all of the responsibility into the lap of Donald Trump, doing so as a setup of the 2020 election cycle. The mainstream media is going to be the damn death of us because they're not acting in a fair and equitable manner. However, most Americans aren't aware of that. And so when they get their news from 20 minutes on ABC or 30 minutes on CBS or 15 minutes checking in CNN or whatever it might be, they're not getting a fair and complete analysis of what's going on in the world. And the Democrats know that they will tote the water. They choose what's important and what's not important. And they have made zero mention of this James Comer investigation in the House Oversight Committee. Zero. And I'm not exaggerating here. 0 minutes and 0 seconds on ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and MSNBC. And now this story and the sweetheart deal that Hunter's gotten by the Department of Justice, led by, guess, wait for it, Joe Biden. This sweetheart deal just further gives an arrow in their quiver to say nothing to see here. That matter. Oh, this is old. I promise you. Every mention of this story from here on out, old news, put to bed, done, Hunter punished, move on. The same media organizations would be demanding that Donald Trump Jr. be thrown under the bus, demanding that he serve jail time. Tell me I'm wrong. I got $100. You prove me wrong. You argue me down on that. Donald Trump Jr. squirreling away millions of dollars, not paying taxes on millions of dollars, buying a gun and lying on his gun application, whoring around doing crack cocaine with prostitutes.
You want to get high?
And you tell me that the liberal media would be sitting around going, oh, yeah, well, I guess punishment served, and, he shouldn't have to serve any jail time. And yes, Bell's not in the room, 7684, but you're right. The shark on top of the diver's cage was real. I'll give you the opportunity, 7684, because you brought it up, out of Kentucky. Do you know how they filmed that scene? So we brought up Jaws and, joking around that the shark wasn't real. Some of them were, obviously. And the shark cage scenes obviously dealt with real sharks. 7684, you tell me, and you could win. You could win like a glass of water and an ink pen used by me if you know how they filmed that to make the shark look so big. There's a specific way they did it. All right, let's go to Larry in Clarksville. He is next. Hey, Larry, what's up?
Hey, Matt. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, man.
I got a couple of quick – I do have one bone pick with you. I've asked you several times to stop saying squirrel so I can no longer have you on speakerphone.
Who gets excited when I say squirrel?
Who does not would be the better answer. So, but listen, I got a couple of real quick comments because I know your lines are full, but then I have a couple of questions. And my dear ginger friend who thinks I'm from 1680, I actually, as far as the Antiques Roadshow, I donated her a couple of my prized possessions for one of her things she was doing for the veterans, and they brought in good money. That being aside, I handled classified documents. If this idiot that says there's only one law for everyone thinks that's how it is, then he needs to go back and look at that young sailor that took a picture of the sub that he was assigned to from the dock, and that sub was sitting up at the dock where anybody walking by there could have taken a picture to send to his girlfriend. He's in Leavenworth.
What? I missed something. Larry, if I stop listening to you for 4 seconds, I'm lost. Wait.
No. Well, I mean, you cover so much, man.
And I appreciate you covering it as well. I admit that I got briefly distracted by something that was going on out of the corner of my eye. So, who's in Leavenworth?
There was a young sailor. I think he was 22.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yes, they took a photo inside, and he went to jail. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't even the inside photo, Matt. It was a photo from the dock that anyone could have taken.
I thought there was one. I thought there was like one selfie or something inside of the thing, but I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not going to pick nits on that, but your point is well taken. That they pick and choose who they throw the book at.
Well, but yeah, I mean, so they throw the book at him. Hillary destroys 33,000 classified emails. Nothing happens to her. Hunter Biden lies on a federal form for a gun request. Do you think for 1 second, if you or I, under this administration, lied on a form to purchase a gun, we would not be under a prison?
Well, of course we would.
There are people right now in this horrible darn prison, and I'm watching my language because I know I'm on the radio. There are people in prison right now for trespassing, serving years. And look at the stars that have actually served jail time for tax evasion, even though it was proven it wasn't their fault. It was an accident, and they still got served in prison.
No, you are offering, and I'll give you some counter incidents to counter the point that you're making, because you're pointing out incident after incident where the Department of Justice decides that national security, and all of this is very, very important. On the flip side, let's talk about all of these individuals that have gone to jail and served jail time for tax evasion, along the likes that Hunter Biden is excused. I mean, Martha Stewart did not deserve what she got, but she got it anyway because the federal government decided to throw the book at her. Wesley Snipes served a jail time for tax evasion. Jail time.
And those are my points. I mean, it's this idiot that says there's only one law for everyone. Well, let me just say I'd like to give him a Cheatham County talking to. That's all I'm saying. I'll let you go, brother. You have a great day. Thanks for taking
Love it, man. I appreciate you. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. Zane, I think that's Zane, out of Portland, and I would be willing to bet it was Tennessee. Hey, Zane, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I want to piggyback on what you just said. If his name was Hunter Trump, they'd be going out to lynch him right now. And that's what kills me. Do you remember when he was out hunting exotic animals in Africa, and every liberal in the dang country wanted to hang him? They were going after him with pitchforks and torches because he was hunting exotic animals. You remember that?
Yep, I do.
And that kind of garbage, I feel like what they are doing, I've already abandoned all hope in the American justice system, and this solidifies why. But it's really just a dog and pony show. They're appeasing the American public who are already upset with him by going, hey, look at what we did. He's in trouble now. Now y'all can chill out. And I know if he served any level of jail time, he'd roll over on his dad. And it drives me nuts. And actually, I think you mentioned Wesley Snipes. I think Wesley Snipes served jail time for bringing a gun on an airplane. If I might be incorrect about that, but I'm almost positive it was about 10 years ago where he served jail time for bringing a gun on an airplane.
I mean, it's as simple as this. If you lie while you fill out a background check, I think you're subject to a 10-year prison sentence.
Wow.
And the same liberals that claim that we need stronger gun laws to be really punitive about people that lie, they're giving Hunter Biden an absolute pass on this right now. And you're right. I don't know if it was Wesley Snipes, but it was somewhere. I mean, yeah. I mean, that sounds right to me. I could look it up as well.
Yeah, it's garbage. I'm listening to all this, and my wife's sending me the article. Oh, look at, Hunter's going to, this is going to happen. And she ends, with ... and nothing's going to happen to him. And we all know that. I mean, once again, if his last name was Trump, every single thing that he did, he would be held accountable for. And he would be made the poster child of why you don't do this stuff. And here we are looking at the elite more. And I can't handle it, man.
Yeah, it is infuriating, but we got to keep our chins up, and we've got to keep a little bit of pressure on at least as much as we can, Zane. And here's my solution, because I hear a lot of Zanes out there asking about solutions. I'll have it for you in just a moment, or at least as best I can give. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on what do we do moving forward from here. We've got to continue to support the good guys. We can't make the perfect the enemy of the good, and we have to keep pressing for a one-tier, not a two-tier justice system. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show. Back in a moment. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Preborn. I want to take a moment to speak up for those who are unable to speak for themselves. These are unborn babies inside of mama's womb. And sadly, it is the case that a lot of mothers, because they're scared, they're not given full information, they don't believe that there are any other options, maybe they're in a bad way financially or otherwise, they think abortion is the only way out to their pregnancy. Preborn teaches and preaches that there is truly a different way. And I believe that. And I think it is exactly the way that I've been talking about doing this for the last 20 years. You don't do it through force. You do it through love. You do it through generous donations such as your own, because Preborn receives no government funding. And with those generous donations, they've discovered that if you allow mama's instincts to take over, and they take over during the ultrasound process, she's going to choose life 80% of the time. It's what happens over and over and over again. And it only costs $28 for an ultrasound. They don't normally get ultrasounds if they've decided on the path of abortion, but if we can get them into a preborn clinic, get them an ultrasound, they choose life. And it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for you to give. If you have the $28, please. If you have more, you could save more babies with more ultrasounds. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 and say baby. All gifts are tax deductible, so please consider giving as much as you can. Pound 250, say baby, or go to preborn.com/Matt. Preborn.com/Matt.
Titanic vanished. U.S. and Canada military agencies coordinating search efforts with time running out.
About 41 hours. That's the amount of oxygen Coast Guard commanders believe the 5 on board the submersible have left if they're alive. There is now an unmanned, small, remote-controlled sub on site to dive and look for it, and sub-hunter aircraft above. U.S. Coast Guard Captain Jamie Frederick.
Yeah, so right now, all of our efforts are focused on finding the sub.
If it's found, it's unclear how a rescue would unfold. He says experts are now meeting, trying to plan out a rescue if it gets to that point. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Hunter Biden has reportedly entered a plea agreement with the Justice Department. ABC News has learned the son of President Biden will plead guilty to charges that he failed to pay taxes on income in 2017 and 2018. And another charge relating to Hunter Biden illegally possessing a firearm could be dropped by prosecutors if he agrees to additional terms. ABC's Rachel Scott says the investigation was overseen by a Trump-appointed prosecutor. Republicans, though, including House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, are calling it a sweetheart deal.
He echoed a lot of what we've heard from other Republicans. He told me directly this has no impact on congressional investigations of Hunter Biden led by House Republicans. He said, if anything, this now enhances that desire for them to continue to push forward with those investigations.
Federal authorities in Paris searching the headquarters today of the 2024 Olympic Organizing Committee and other sites. The raid centering around allegations of embezzlement of public funds and contract favoritism ahead of the Summer Games, which are now just a year away. Volatile storms in store for parts of the South again today, including the threat of tornadoes. People in Mississippi still cleaning up after a twister tore through Moss Point. You're listening to ABC News.
There are several components to buying and owning a gun. At the Glock store, they understand that better than anyone that I've ever had business with. Let's talk about the two main components. That is deciding to buy a gun, deciding to weaponize yourself for the purpose of self-defense or otherwise, maybe sport shooting, whatever your reason. You need to go to the best, and the Glock store simply is the best. 35,000 square feet, big, bright. They have incredible people that can help you no matter your level of expertise. And here's one thing that I love. Sometimes you walk into a gun store, and they talk down to you a little bit. And they don't necessarily mean to, I don't think, but they do, especially if you're a novice when it comes to gun ownership. They don't do that at the Glock store. They make sure not to do that because they know that everyone's on their individual path to self-defense and their own journey to protecting themselves by arming themselves. Secondarily, and the big piece to this is training yourself to understand how to use it. It's one thing to buy it and keep it in your glove box. It's another thing to use it. Now, obviously, locked glove box. And understand how to use it. And they have helpful trainers that can do just that. So with that in mind, they have two websites. One is glockstore.com. That's all things sales and service oriented. The other is shoot270.com. That's all about membership memberships and getting trained up. So whether you go to Glockstore.com or Shoot270.com, remember, there's only one that I recommend. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to McGill's world-famous Glock Store. Hello. It is hour number 2 of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Our portion of the broadcast day running from noon until 3 o'clock, episode 363. We're almost a year in on shows. That's kind of nice. About a year and a half in overall. Glad to have you with us on our portion of the day. Brian Wilson back in the saddle this afternoon from 3 until 7 o'clock. Glad to see that he is fitting to do a radio show. We appreciate you listening all day long. Information fueled and opinion driven on News Talk Radio. Right here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I've had shingles, and it is absolutely
wait a minute.
Atrocious.
What, you just mentioning this?
No, I've told you before.
I just don't listen.
You don't. No, but I had it on my scalp, and it felt like somebody had poured acid on my skin. It was just...
Yeah, I mean, the stories are on, I mean, they're the same, and I don't diminish the seriousness of it, but my grandmother had them, my mother had them, you've had them, Brian Wilson had them, and Brian thought that he could play through it.
Yeah.
And it caught up to him.
I 100% see why he was not able to do a show having shingles. It makes perfect sense to me.
Well, and he'll probably tell you in the 3 o'clock hour, and he related on Facebook, which is why I'm comfortable relating it to you, because it is a personal matter, but he said that he tried to play through the pain, and he tried to time his medicine so that he had clarity between 3 and 7, and it caught up with him, which is why he was out late last week, and we're hoping for the best, and I am certain that he is back up and running.
Yeah, any woman that tells you childbirth is the most painful thing that you can experience has not had shingles. I'm going to get in trouble for that one.
I'm just going to sit here and go, disapprovingly. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to go, like natural childbirth? Shingles worse? I maintain that kidney stone is worse. But see, here's the thing.
I've never had a kidney stone.
Well, I've
never had a kid.
I had a kidney stone. And it was fun. It was goody. Feels like you hot lava. You know that hot lava? You see the hot lava? Just pour that down your junk. That's what it feels like. But I've never had a kid, so it's really difficult. If you've had a kidney stone, the shingles, and a child, call 615-737-9986. I feel like Buck Henry in that old you ever see that old Saturday Night Live bit where he's doing, I mean, this is a great bit, especially for talk radio hosts. If you're trying to do a caller-driven segment, you'll understand. Go watch Buck Henry on Saturday Night Live do his talk show where he's, it's Talk Back Live. And for those who have never seen it, do yourself a favor and go watch it. I won't describe the whole thing to you, but it ends. He's so desperate for calls. He's like, what about the Russians? I'm for them. Well, I think we need more communists in America. If you disagree with me, dial 555-6565 or whatever it is. And nobody calls. He's just waiting on calls. Talk Back Live. Your opportunity to talk back live. New subject. Dead puppies. I like them. I love dead puppies. I think we need to give the dead puppies to the communist Russians.
It's Friday Eve.
I mean, it's so good. Anyway, the big story of the day is obviously the Hunter Biden announcement that Hunter Biden has struck a plea deal with the Department of Justice, and that plea deal will involve no jail time. He is to plead guilty to federal charges of tax evasion as the probe intensifies against him. U.S. Attorney for Delaware David Weiss says that the investigation is ongoing. Let me give you the rundown, and I'll get your thoughts on it. Hunter Biden has agreed to plead guilty in the federal case stemming from an investigation that's been going on for 5 years now. According to multiple sources, there's confirmation that the president's son will plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of willful failure to pay federal income tax. That is ridiculous. These are felonious charges, and he should be charged with a felony. I mean, you still got that Jack Smith up? Just listen. If you think I'm being heavy-handed or I'm being unfair, let's just listen to Prosecutor Jack Smith talk to us about the fairness and equitable treatment under the law from his press conference last week.
Good afternoon. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with felony violations of our national security laws, as well as participating in a conspiracy to obstruct justice. This indictment was voted by a grand jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida, and I invite everyone to read it in full to understand the scope and the gravity of the crimes charged. The men and women of the United States intelligence community and our armed forces dedicate their lives to protecting our nation and its people. Our laws that protect national defense information are critical to the safety and security of the United States, and they must be enforced. Violations of those laws put our country at risk. Adherence to the rule of law is a bedrock principle of the Department of Justice, and our nation's commitment to the rule of law sets an example for the world. We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone. Applying those laws, collecting facts, that's what determines the outcome of an investigation.
Hey, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you, Jack. That's what I wanted to hear. We have one set of laws. We have one set of laws for everybody. Yet if you're the president's son, you get to plead down to misdemeanor charges when what was obviously felony charges of federal income tax evasion. Hunter Biden also agreed to enter a pre-trial diversion agreement regarding separate charges of possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user or addicted to controlled substances. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, David Weiss, said, according to the tax information, Hunter Biden received, quote, taxable income in excess of $1,500,000 annually in the calendar years 2017 and 2018, $3 million totally. Despite owing in excess of $100,000 in federal income tax each year, he did not pay the income tax due for either year. According to the firearm information from on or about October 12, 2018 through October 23, 2018, Hunter Biden possessed a firearm despite knowing that he was an unlawful user and addicted to a controlled substance. Weiss's office said if convicted of the charges as misdemeanors, he could face a maximum penalty of up to 12 months in prison on each of the tax charges, a total of 2 years. Maximum penalty of 10 years in prison on the firearm charge, for which he agreed to a pretrial diversion program. Such programs, according to the DOJ website, quote, divert certain offenders from traditional criminal justice proceedings into alternative systems of supervision and service, such as mental health or substance abuse. A federal judge will determine any sentence after taking into account the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. The investigation is ongoing. The fact that they had this pleaded down from a felony to a misdemeanor says volumes about where this is going. This is a diversion of justice. It is also a head fake. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to that. Pay attention to all of this that's going on, as #NeverCNN will tell you. Oh, already there. This puts it to bed. Expected to avoid jail time by pleading guilty to tax offenses and cutting a deal on the felony gun charge. Struck a deal. Will appear in court at a future date. Why are they doing this now? Why is it important now? That's a question that you need to ask yourself. It's a question I'm sure Billy is asking out of Nashville, and he joins us now. Billy, good afternoon. Welcome into the Murphy Show.
Yeah, man, I want to speak about 15 seconds. And you know, when I say the last word, that I'll be done. Hunter Biden is getting away with everything that we would not get away with. Although I do feel like that once we go through a background check for a gun, they don't need to know what kind of gun we're buying or how many we're buying. We pass a background check, And also, the reason for the Second Amendment wasn't just for hunters. The reason our forefathers did the Second Amendment is in case our country ever did have to rise up against our own tyrannical government. And also, I want to say one thing in closing. Myself and my family are all concealed carry. My family, for generations, has been members of PETA, people eating tasty animals. Squirrel.
Thank you there, Billy. I've been talking about PETA for a long time, people eating tasty animals. And then the squirrel, that's just for you, Larry. I had a, years ago, when I did this sort of thing, I don't do it anymore. I was in Montgomery, Alabama. I had just probably a year into my talk show, and I got called from the people for the ethical treatment of animals, and they said, hey, we're going to be in your town next week. Would you like for us to come on and discuss the presentation that we're making in front of the Alabama State Capitol? And I said, well, sure, why not? I'll take all comers. I used to it used to be an annual. I used to do this for about 3 or 4 years. I did this until I got tired of it. I had a member of PETA on before Thanksgiving, and I stated that, hey, I want you to come on and talk about, encourage people not to eat turkey for Thanksgiving, and talk to us about the turkey mills and the turkey farms and how they mistreat the turkeys and all that. And they'd agree to do it. And and I said, now I'm a meat eater, and I'm probably going to push. I told them, I said, I'm probably going to, oh, that's fine. We don't mind debating it. And my entire argument was that it was so tasty. No matter what they said, about the mistreatment of the turkeys or how horrible it is, I said, yeah, but it tastes so delicious.
I thought you were going to say, and that, folks, is why you should have ham for Thanksgiving instead.
I mean, anything they said, I said, have you ever, but have you ever tasted a delicious slice of butterball turkey? It's so good. Oh, and then we go on and on and on. It was so much fun. Maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we'll bring it back. But the PETA, you've inspired me and you've squirreled me. Thanks a lot, caller, Brian, Danny, whatever the hell your name was. No offense. I'm just in a mood. So this woman was the bit was they went to the Capitol and they were lobbying for the ethical treatment of pets or something or another. And this naked lady painted herself up like a tiger, and they put her in a big cage. They've done this a lot. They put her in a big cage, and so she's like acting like a tiger, and people come by and take pictures, and she's naked. And they said, we would like to come on and be in studio with you and talk about this thing. And I said, sure. And she said, real quick, because this was just the person scheduling the thing. She said, real quick, does Mary need to be naked? And I said, what? And she said, well, a lot of times radio hosts expect that she will be dressed like she's going to be dressed in the cage, therefore naked. They request that. And I said, who? I'm not Howard Stern. I don't want naked people walking.
That's the first thing I thought when you said that.
This is not Howard Stern. Anyway.
But now that we do Super Talk TV, we would probably say that she would need to be naked.
I would probably, and then it would force us to do that little pixel thing or the little black bar. I always like the black bar. You can always, if you got the black bar and it's a guy, you can always tell how he's been blessed by how big the bar is. Scott is next in Summertown. Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing today?
We're wonderful. Scott, what's on your mind?
Good. Appreciate you taking my call.
Sure.
You mentioned, I just caught the tail end of it when I got in my vehicle about kidney stones. And I just have to tell you this really short story. I have had kidney stones. They are terrible. I'm a man from birth and by choice, and so I've never had a baby. But I had a friend in the hospital with kidney stones. I'll make this very brief. In a semi-private room, a little old lady and her husband in the other half of the room, and the guy's in terrible pain. And when he couldn't get more medicine, he told the nurse to go out to his truck and get his hammer and beat him in the head till he passed out because it hurt so bad. And when the nurse responded, it can't hurt that bad. The curtain flew open, and the little old lady said, ma'am, have you had children? She said, no. She said, have you had kidney stones? She said, no. She said, well, I've had both. I have 3 adult children, and I would sooner give birth to them all 3 in a row, full grown, before I'd have kidney stones again. Now get the man some medicine. so apparently kidney stones hurt. Well, I'm not going to say it out loud, but you know what I mean.
I get it. I get it. I've never had a child either, but I have passed in my life, and thankfully I don't have a problem with it anymore. But I passed what was described to me by the doctor as probably a mild kidney stone. I did it I passed it in the bathroom of a Waffle House at 3:00 in the morning in Carrollton, Georgia.
So you were at work?
I was at work.
Wow.
But I couldn't, it was painful, and it had been painful, and it had particularly been painful to go to the bathroom, and I thought I had a urinary tract infection or something. And by the time, I didn't have a full understanding of what it was, but by the time I did, it was too late. And so I was 2 hours in the men's room of the Waffle House. There was another cook there, and I said, I'm out. And I couldn't go anywhere. It was too, and I mean, not to belabor the, I laid in a Waffle House bathroom floor in pain. That's how bad the pain was.
That's gotta feel pretty terrible.
I mean, it was just brutal. So I don't know what childbirth's like, but if childbirth, I can understand why a woman would have one child, natural childbirth, but if that's the pain that you experience, I don't understand how you would have two. All right, back to the Hunter Biden story. And here's the thing, folks. Democrats loudly tell us that they have a commitment to fairness and equality, and now they're using that term equity. They loudly proclaim that no one is above the law. Remember how they went after Donald Trump's tax return, saying, we know there's something wrong here. He's not paid his fair share in taxes. Otherwise, he's not nearly worth what he claims to be worth. Well, they finally got their hands on his taxes. And what happened? Nothing. You haven't heard a peep since they got their hands on his taxes. That tells me two things. One, he's paid all the taxes that he owes. And two, he's worth more than they claimed he was worth. Otherwise, we'd have this splashed everywhere. They regularly tell us that the rich don't pay their fair share. Whether it's Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris or Joe Biden himself, these Richie Richardsons aren't paying their fair share. Well, Hunter Biden is a Richie Richardson. And he hasn't paid his fair share. Where are the Democrats demanding more justice for this tax cheat? He made $1.5 million. That's what he didn't report. He made more than that annually. He made $1.5 million he didn't report taxes on in 2017. $1.5 million he didn't report taxes on in 2018. That's one side of this story. The fact that Democrats are going, oh, well, justice served. Justice served. You also talk about gun safety in America and how lying on your gun form should be a serious offense because people who do so get their hands on guns and they go do bad things with them, drug dealers and criminals alike. Hunter Biden will serve no time and will not be penalized outside of a diversion program on the gun charge. Where are the Democrats? I'm tempted because they're talking about it. One of my monitors is on #NeverCNN right now. And I'm tempted to go to it to see what they're saying. Only because I expect a day of analysis and the rest of the time, this issue's to bed, we're moving on. This issue's to bed, we're talking about Trump. So the Biden DOJ handed a no jail deal to a repeat tax offender and cheat who lied on his gun purchase forms, and they did so because his last name is Biden.
They're discussing Biden's ability to win re-election with this element adding into it that his son's corrupt.
Well, that's nice. How are we going to get Joe reelected with this on our plate? Well, we'll conveniently ignore that it exists. And they'll also do this other thing, too. And don't let them. If you're around the dinner table tonight, if you have more liberal-minded friends, and I hope that you're able to speak in a friendly fashion with them, but if you're discussing this case, do not allow them to pretend that this case has anything to do with the Joe Biden, Ukraine, China case. It does not. This was the culmination of that. This was what happened after he got the money for that. You see, Hunter is so squirrely. By the way, Joe Biden paid did you see where Joe Biden has paid taxes on, I think it's up to $10 million. This might be his entire family. The rest of the family paid taxes on $10 million of mystery money, and nobody knows where it came from. And that's one of the big questions in front of the James Comer Oversight Committee is, okay, you paid. So the rest of the family was smart enough to pay their taxes. I mean, Hunter's so dumb, he takes kickback money from the Ukrainians and kickback money from the Chinese and then doesn't pay taxes on it.
Well, see, that's how honest the rest of the family is. They pay taxes on their kickback money. If Al Capone had done that, he'd have been fine.
I mean, remember in Goodfellas when they went and dug the body back up?
Yeah.
That's what the paying of the taxes is.
Yeah.
Is that you gotta cover it up, baby. And if they're about to build condos where you buried the body, I don't care if it's been 6 months, you gotta go dig the body up and move it. And Joe knew to do that, and Jim knew to do that. Hunter, he's smoking a crack pipe. He doesn't know.
You want to get high?
No. It's 126 Super Talk 99.7 WTIP. It is the party of the summer, and the summer's here. Just about. I mean, tomorrow is official, but you know what? It is the longest day of the year today and tomorrow, I guess it is, and the summertime is here, and if you've not already done so, it's time to get your tickets to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Get amped, baby! The Music City Grand Prix is happening the 6th through the 4th, that is through the 6th of August 4th through 6th in downtown Nashville. New for 2023, the Saturday night racing, a family fun zone, and an earlier start of 11:30 in the morning for Sunday. It is a fan favorite that is returning, the high-flying stadium super trucks. Tons and tons of racing, capped off with Sunday's NTT IndyCar Series racing through the streets of Nashville. There are still premium hospitality tickets available. 3-day tickets are ready for sale. MusicCityGP.com. That's MusicCityGP.com. And don't forget, I mean, at some point, these tickets sell out, folks. There's only so many people you can get in downtown Nashville, believe it or not. MusicCityGP.com. It's the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. I invite you to be there the 4th through the 6th in Music City. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you. Young Bell K, Headless Bell we call him, is in the background. Mac Morey will be back about 2 o'clock to deliver some headlines for you a little bit later on this afternoon. In the meantime, it's me, it's you, it's Bell, it's you on the phones. Your reaction to the Hunter Biden story. There's a couple of other stories that we want to get into. The Titanic tourism, would you do what? You know, it's interesting.
Not anymore.
It's interesting the line in the sand that we will draw based on what is appealing to us and what isn't, and based on what is considered dangerous and what is not. For example, I've jumped out of an airplane a couple times. I have done 2 tandem skydive jumps. Would go again tomorrow if you're a reputable company and I trust your business. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. You could not pay me to bungee jump. It's just the dynamic and the way that I react to it is completely different. I just couldn't pay me to do it. Mainly because I've watched those videos of the people that poop themselves.
That's just the Thursday for you, though.
Boy, I'm on this new diet.
Don't stop. Stop it.
You got to be careful. You know what I'm talking about. You've lost like 60 pounds.
62.
I guarantee you know what I'm talking about. When you change up things and your body has to react to it early on, and you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
So no bungee jumping for me. But those slingshots that they do, you know, not in a million years. I see way too many people because there's always a camera on you, and then I don't want to be that guy. That, you know, and if you're watching on Talk TV, this is the thing, right? I'm gonna recreate. This is just for you on Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. You recreate because the people, they're like all excited, and they're and then just boing, and then they go.
It's like they're trying to mentally and physically brace themselves, and it doesn't help.
And then the one person is like, ah, and the other person's, and they wake back up, ah. I would never go in a submarine.
Not anymore.
Well, not this homemade, janky-ass. I'm sorry, I said the A word twice today. I apologize for those of you with kids in the car. It's summertime.
For gosh sake, watch your language.
I have a potty mouth, and I apologize. But this janky, you know what? Like, they did a video. I posted it up on my Twitter page. I mean, if you've not heard, this Titanic tourism submarine, which has the ability to take 5 people at a time, the pilot and 4 other people. So a couple of these people were tourists. Literally, there's a business guy from England, and they paid like $250,000 a piece to go to the side of the Titanic, which is over a mile underwater. And it was lost, and it has been lost. And no, I mean, there's a press conference going on. Join this. Let's listen to this. I know we're late for a break, but
to get equipment on scene as quickly as we can.
Okay, that's it. All right, well, that's about as all you have. That was from an earlier press conference. That's all as well, because we need to get to a break anyway. But more on this submarine in a moment, and the latest on the manifesto is coming up as well. There's some new revelations, and the family has responded, and it's a very tender conversation that we have to have about that response. Plus, you on the phone, 615-737-9986. It's the Murphy Show on Super Talk. Folks, the painting company wants you to know, A, the summertime is exterior painting season. That's because you get longer periods of no weather activity on the outside. Now, obviously, the last few days do not demonstrate a good time to paint the exterior of your home. But when the weather is rough on the outside, they're painting the inside of your house because they do it all at Nashville Painting Company. Jeremy Reeves and Nashville Painting Company. They do interior, exterior cabinets, brick painting, brick lime washing, deck, and fence staining. They are truly your residential repaint experts, but they can also do your commercial property as well. They have the best brick painting warranty in Nashville, 10 years. They have 3, 5, 7, and 10-year warranties available, professional estimates available, and now is the time to make the call. If you want to spruce that house up for the summertime, or, get in line for a fall spruce up before the holidays. I mean, it's never too early to call the painting company, locally owned and operated, fully licensed and insured. Don't take another step toward painting your house until you contact Nashville Painting Company. 615-635-0350, 635-0350, or NashvillePaintingCompany.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the Matt Murphy Show. A Tuesday feels like Monday. It's 1:38, almost 1:39. Glad to have you with us, whether it's on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, on any of the streaming platforms, or right here at 99.7 FM on this Tuesday. So I'm I'm jumping around like a box of frogs, and it's kind of the theme of the show, right? We mentioned that it was a frog strangler early. I taught you that phrase, and now I'm jumping around like a box of frogs, so I apologize for that. But the Hunter Biden story is the big story of the day. We're also including several other stories involving, Trump defended himself last night on Bret Baier. I don't know if you saw this. It did not I do not believe in 2023, at the risk of, look, I have voted for Donald Trump 4 times. Primary 1, 2016. Primary number 2, 2020. I have shifted into neutral as to my vote in the Republican Party primary. I encourage you to do as much as well. it is quite likely that I could vote for Donald Trump in the next primary in the state of Tennessee. When is that, by the way? We need to start having a primary countdown. But it is likely that I could vote for him. It's also possible that I could vote for Ron DeSantis or Tim Scott. I don't know that I could potentially get beyond that at this point, but I could be surprised. I have long encouraged you to keep your options open. You do not have to pick. I understand that many of you that are dyed-in-the-wool and diehard Donald Trump have already done so, and that's all well and good. I'm not begrudging you that decision-making process. I'm telling you that that's what candidates want you to do, and you never know what's coming around the bend tomorrow or the next day or the next day. And psychologically, once you make that selection, you become defensive and you start turning good people into enemies. Ron DeSantis is not your enemy. He's not, whether you want him to be or not. If you're a Trump supporter, I'm sorry to get so animated about this, but I truly believe it. If you're a Trump supporter and you think Ron DeSantis is the enemy, then we've already lost. We may as well pack it up and go home and talk about what we're going to do on the other side of the collapse of the United States. If Ron DeSantis is our enemy, now we may disagree with him on this or that thing, but that doesn't make him an enemy, does it? I mean, you might think of him as an EOT. That's a different matter. That's a political matter, EOT being enemy of Trump. So the point I make is this. I've dropped into neutrality with regard to the political primary, but obviously I have no intention of voting for anyone other than the Republican candidate for president of the United States in 2024, be that Trump or DeSantis or Scott, perhaps, or I can't imagine a scenario where I'd go an independent route.
March 5th.
March 5th. Thank you. I'm writing that down, Bill. Thank you. That said, I watched the interview with Bret Baier last night, and I don't think Donald Trump does himself favors by continuously relitigating 2020. Yes, we need to forward focus on the primaries and the election of 2024, and part of that is making sure that some of the things that happened during 2020 don't happen again, but it does not do me it might frustrate you and it might energize you because you're a Trump person. It doesn't move the needle with people who have gotten off Trump train or you need in a general election. The way that you win elections is to get the most votes. And while I believe that something astronomical would have to happen for Donald Trump not to be the nominee in 2024 for the Republicans, I also understand how you need to move the needle forward and start regathering those that you may have lost because of malfeasance or corruption or because others are saying untrue things about you. Whatever the case, whatever the reason that you've lost these voters, every time you're on national television, every time you're on a stage, your goal should be to, yes, energize the base, but secondarily, recollect those that you may have lost. And hell, the Democrats are doing a great job helping you. But you don't move the needle by going over 2020 again. And even if you're asked about it, there's an easy pivot to move forward. And I thought there was a little too much of that last night. So that's on the docket as well. And all of it pales in comparison to the huge Hunter Biden story, where Jay is wanting to talk about that. Hey, Jay, how are you?
Hey, good. Thanks, Matt. Hey, real quick on Hunter, I'm not really sure why everyone's surprised that he got the minimal penalty. He's the son of the most powerful man in the United States, just like judges' kids don't, and senators' kids, or should we say former Speaker of the House's husbands. I mean, you're powerful, you're going to have pull. He got the minimal sentence. Yes, it was a sweetheart deal. It's just the way it is. You're a powerful person, you got pull. And you don't get any more powerful than the president. And so that's just I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Well, I used to say, Jay, that the Department of Justice or our justice system There was a time when our justice system was affected by black and white. Okay? Like, just work with me here because I'm moving to a point. So, like 70, 80 years ago, sadly, and I say sadly because it's wrong, the level of justice that you received, for example, in the state of Tennessee, had a lot to do with the color of your skin, black and white. And it is sad to say, but it is a fact. Not universally, but a fact. Well, we moved to a point in the American justice system where I came to understand that it wasn't about black and it wasn't about white. It was about green. It was all about how much money you had to pay the better experienced and the slicker attorneys, and how much money you had to belabor the process to the point where the prosecution was willing to cut deals with you. What Americans are sensing here, Jay, and you tell me if you think I'm right or I'm wrong, though, is that we've gotten away from our system being controlled by green, and now it's being controlled in a lot of ways by red and by blue, by political partisanship and affiliation.
I absolutely agree. I'm not saying it's right. It is.
No.
It's not right. It's not right. But you got a powerful parent. You're gonna get something. You're just not gonna get the top. You're just not gonna. Of course he's not gonna do jail time. But that's all I wanted to say about that. And by the way, I have had chicken pox at the age of 31, and I have had a baby. There is nothing worse than nerve pain. I thought I was going to die. I mean, literally thought I was going to die. So nerve pain and birth, nerve pain blows it out of the water hands down. So
well, that answers that, Jay. Thank you for the call. I'm hopeful you're feeling no pain right now. However, that would be for the best. 146 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I told you we were balancing a lot of stories, juggling them. They're all in the air right now, to include kidney stones. Some of the super text line responses to my commentary on Donald Trump's appearance last night with Brett Baer. I think these only Trumpers saying they won't vote for anyone but Trump will be the downfall of the next election. I've heard callers say they just wouldn't vote if it's not Trump. These people need to vote against the Democrats, and I hope the Republicans can make it all better, Trump or not. I believe in the United States of America. I still do. I choose to believe in the United States of America. I believe in the United States of America more than I believe in Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump's been great for this country. Sadly, I think he's upset the apple cart to the point that the apple vendor is ticked off, and that apple cart is the swamp. And the swamp includes organizations, bureaucracies like the Department of Justice and the FBI. They like acting in an extracurricular fashion to the Constitution of the United States of America, and so they'll continue to do so as long as they have. And who didn't think they would fight back? And fighting back they are. In the meantime, you have that two-tier system, or what appears to be so. What with, fine, the indictment of Donald Trump, he'll get his day in court. He deserves his day in court. That said, Hunter Biden will not have to face a day in court, despite the serious nature of the charges against him. Why? What's the difference? Blue and red. That's what seems to be the difference. Understand what I'm saying, and I'm not justifying it. It's an observation that 60, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, I don't know that if you were a black man, you could get the same level of justice in the American judicial system that you could if you were a white man. Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis, but I think on the whole, your climb, your road to hoe was harder as a black person to demonstrate that you were not guilty of the charges against you, or to cede a belief of reasonable doubt in the minds of a jury that didn't look a lot like you. It was a tougher hill to climb. Justice seemed to be dependent on black or white. Somewhere along the way, I don't know at what time, put it around the time of O.J. Simpson, if you will, it makes it easy to understand. It became not so much about black and white, but about green. It occurs to me that this is still the case, that if you have more money, you have more ability to offer a robust defense of the charges against you. And if you can pay the slickest of defense attorneys money, then you can provide a seat of reasonable doubt in the minds of a jury. And you probably have a little bit of better ability to beat the charges against you than someone with no cash, with, for example, a court-appointed attorney. That's all about justice being green. But on the federal level, more than ever, it occurs that what's that little knucklehead that gave all of the money to Democrat causes, the crypto guy, Sam Bankman-Fried? Yeah? Did you see where some charges were dropped against him? Oh, yeah. Watch. Every charge that they charged him with after apprehending him in the Bahamas or wherever he was, they've dropped those charges. Now, if you think for a second, if this were a major Republican benefactor that would have happened, then I guess you don't believe in my theory. But my theory is it's less about green, still about green, but it has a lot to do with R's and D's now. It has a lot to do with red and blue. Oh, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. It's 1:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So it's hot. I mean, I get it. It's rainy. It's sticky outside. It's awful. And if you don't have well-conditioned air inside of your home, you're probably feeling it. You know it. And you know that you need to make a call. Who do you call? Well, I strongly encourage you to call Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. Well-conditioned air makes life tolerable in Middle Tennessee this time of year. And if you're trying to make a decision about whether to replace or repair your system, let the experts tell you what they believe you should do. They'll never tell you what to do, but they'll be happy to tell you what they believe is the right call. And it all involves a telephone call to Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. Jeff Eddy keeps his overhead down, invoices small, no overtime rates, never. They offer free financing on your next unit, a Mitsubishi Electric expert, a diamond contractor with those guys, and an elite pro partner with Ream. They do it all at Efficient Heating and Cooling, and they want to see you. If you need them, go ahead and make that maintenance call, or if something's wrong, call today. 615-784-4424. That's 784-4424 for Efficient Heating and Cooling. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This is Dolly.
Yeah, with Rob Halford and Nikki Sixx and John Five. She co-wrote this one with the producer.
I liked the it just seems weird hearing Dolly sing on top of this type of music. I loved the one that she did, the new song, World's on Fire, I think it is.
Yeah.
Over
That's the name of the album.
Over the weekend, I heard her version of Magic Man.
Yep.
Have you heard that?
Not yet.
Sounds weird.
But it's out.
Sounds weird.
Ann Wilson's on it.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, Heart. They had such a unique sound, and it just is weird hearing a version with anybody singing it different. I mean, I don't know. It's just, y'all know my Dolly bona fides are well established, so don't come at me here.
Your Dolly what?
My bona fides.
Oh, okay.
My Dolly bona fides.
Gotcha.
There's two of them. Big bona fides. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Your calls coming up, plus the latest developments in the Manifesto case. That's on the way.
It is 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 76 degrees, mostly cloudy day. We're going to have storms and showers on and off all day and really most of this week. Full weather forecast coming up in just a couple minutes. More equipment is showing up above the Titanic wreckage site, including an unmanned small submarine to look for the 5 who went missing aboard a submersible. Alex Stone has the latest on the search effort.
If the 5 on board are alive and stuck underwater, it's not yet clear how a rescue would happen. It would be an unprecedented effort to get to them 13,000 feet down. The Coast Guard believes the 5 could have enough air to last until Thursday morning. Captain Jamie Frederick says they're moving equipment into place in case a rescue needs to unfold.
Some of the equipment that's coming is coming from the East Coast, but again, we're talking about very heavy equipment. It's a complicated transport operation.
And some will take a while to get there. So far, there have been no signs of the sub.
And reports have come out from Fox and NBC News saying that the CEO of Ocean Gate Expeditions, Stockton Rush, is on board this vanished vessel. And over to some more breaking national news that happened today. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, has been charged with failing to pay federal income tax and illegally possessing a weapon and has reached an agreement with the Justice Department. As part of the agreement that was made public today, Hunter Biden will plead guilty to misdemeanor tax offenses and is expected to reach an agreement with prosecutors on the felony charge of illegally possessing a firearm as a drug user. And the EV market, they're shaking up brand loyalty, according to a new report. Here's Mike Dubusky explaining.
A new survey from Edmunds finds that 85% of car buyers shopping for an EV are open to buying one from a brand they've never owned before. Edmunds sales data finds in the first quarter of this year, more than 6 in 10 trade-ins for EVs were from a different car company. In general, market share for EVs is small, about 6.7% as of last month, but it's growing. That figure was 5.3% in May of last year.
And right now in Tennessee, a man from Kansas has been arrested after allegedly making threats aimed at a Nashville Pride event that's coming up. 25-year-old Joshua Hensley made a comment in April on Facebook responding to this Nashville Pride post saying, quote, make shrapnel pressure cooker bombs for this event, and saying, quote, commit a mass shooting. Hensley now faces up to 5 years in prison and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines on each count if convicted. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, and it's time to get that mobile phone changed over to Patriot Mobile. Why? Well, I've got a number of reasons. One, the reliability is just as good as any other network in America, and it is proven time and time again. As a matter of fact, when you switch to Patriot Mobile, you get the best possible service in your area because they offer dependable nationwide coverage on all three major networks. But secondary to that, when you switch to Patriot Mobile, you send a message that you believe in certain things, and you know you should spend your money with like-minded companies, and you support free speech, for religious freedom, the sanctity of life, and the Second Amendment, and so does Patriot Mobile. They have a 100% U.S.-based customer service team. It makes switching so easy. You keep your phone, you keep your telephone number, and you switch. You go to patriotmobile.com/Murphy, patriotmobile.com/Murphy, or you call 787-PATRIOT. Use the free activation code Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y, to get the free activation that I just mentioned. Ask about their coverage guarantees while you're there. patriotmobile.com/Murphy or 878-PATRIOT. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased you've decided to join us on this Tuesday. Feels like Monday. It is 2:05 and a good afternoon. I'm going to suspend trying to figure out my email woes until after the show. I can't figure it out. I'm using 2 gigabytes of 1.98 gigabytes. I'm using 101%. I've repeatedly tried to delete my deleted items, and it won't let me delete my deleted items. I feel like I'm 80 years old and I'm trying to order a sandwich. I feel like Joe Biden trying to describe guns to the American people. You guys heard that? More on that in a moment. Hello, Mac Morey.
Hello. Good afternoon, Matt. I didn't realize we were having emailing woes. I guess I heard a little bit. I didn't think it was going to be a huge issue, though.
I didn't either. I thought, you go to the source, you go to the Outlook source. I forget to do that because everything filters to my MacBook, right? And it doing so, I mean, I can clean that out, but it sits over there on the Outlook, on the Microsoft thing. So that's fine. Just go over there. People say, hey, your email's bouncing back. Okay, I'll delete it. And I do it, and it just says, no, you haven't deleted it. And I don't know what I'm not doing right. If someone knows, they can, hey, whippersnapper. No, not you, Headless Bell. You're not a whippersnapper. Whippersnapper. Bell looked at me like I was talking to him.
Yeah.
The last time you've been called you're no whippersnapper. Yeah, you grumpy old man, maybe no whippersnapper. No, look at him. You know what he's
see my temper? Keep going.
There you go. See, I figured that's what he's doing. Old timers. Speaking of old timers, I got more on him in a second. So, whippersnapper, you think you can tell me what I'm doing wrong here, or do you know?
I may be able to look at it and figure it out in about 2 seconds. Yeah.
Well, I want you to come here. I want you now, right here on camera.
Okay.
Get in here while I'm doing a radio show. 207 Super Talk 99.7 WTN, because it bothers me. If I can't get it done, it frustrates me. And I've already done. You remember I told you I did the saved or the sent messages, Bell? That was my problem, is that I'd never deleted my sent messages. I had 15,000 of them. So now I've sent all of my sent messages. I deleted them, and it went to the deleted folder. See what I'm talking about there? And so I hit that, and I hit that, and it goes, okay. And it'll scroll, and it'll say, oh, yeah, we're doing that. And we're doing that. And then when it gets done, it's the same. Makes me mad. Makes me angry. I want to smash it, and it's not. I don't own it.
Well, we're not going to do that.
I mean, I think we should smash it. Give me something. Oh, staple. I smash it with a staple. I claim you did it. It's not a camera or anything. All right, get out of here. You're doing no good. I mean, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, right?
That's what I would have done. I would say try not all next time.
That really got out of hand fast.
Why not all?
Because it's not doing it.
Just give it a little something different to ignore me on.
Yeah, switch it up.
You know what it's doing? This computer's giving me one of these. Right there. Am I allowed to flip the bird to talk TV? No, well, somebody should have told me that before a minute ago. Because I just did. All right, on a more serious vein, we were expecting to have Congressman Tim Burchett. His flight has been delayed. He will be on with us tomorrow or Thursday. Okay? Before we go into this very serious story, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, I'll get Wayne out of Clarksville to talk to us about gallstones. Hey, Wayne, how are you?
How you doing today, Matt?
Well, you know, I feel like an old timer. I've got email issues. I'm grumpy. How about you?
Learn how to drive a dump truck. It's a lot simpler.
You're right about that.
On a serious note, I've had kidney stones, a couple of them, and they suck.
Yeah, they do.
Gallstones were worse. So
gallstones are worse.
Imagine waking up at 10 o'clock at night thinking somebody's stomping center right up under the rib cage on you. And you go to the hospital yourself because you don't want to wake your wife and kids. And you get to the hospital and you see the hospital. It was Fort Leonard Wood. So it's full of basic trainees with their woes. And you're thinking, well, I'm never going to get to see the doctor. And I think I might have even said to the clerk, give me a gun. Let me shoot myself. Let's get this over with. But they took me in right away. They could see I was in serious pain. And they gave me some amazing drugs. And a couple hours later, they came and they said, hey, we think we know what's wrong with you, but unfortunately, we need to do an ultrasound. So you've got to come back on Friday at lunch. Well, I can't drive home, can I? Oh, no, please don't do that. You're under the influence. So I walked home. When my instructors found out, they yelled at me for not calling them at 2 in the morning and asking for a ride home. So fast forward to Friday, we're doing a run with the Commandant. I fall out because my body is shutting down. And, of course, rightfully so, all my peers made fun of me because it's inexcusable to ever fall out of a run in the Army. So at noon, I go to the hospital, and they check me out. And the woman says, hey, go to the ER. Now, nobody's giving me any explanation. I go to the ER, and they say, take off your blouse. And it's at that point that I say, what's going on? And they said, well, nobody's told you? And I was like, nobody's told me anything. They go, well, the other night you had a gallstone stuck up in your ductwork. And the reason we gave you the drugs was to get it to loosen up and fall out. Your gallstone or your gallbladder is full of gallstones, and we need to take it out.
What?
Yeah. So literally didn't go to class the rest of the day. Actually skipped out on a 12-mile ruck march the next day because the next morning they took my gallbladder out.
Oh, my goodness. That's horrible.
Gallstones, I don't wish kidney stones on anybody. I don't wish gallstones on anybody. They suck. I don't know if it's worse than a woman having birth pains, and I don't want to comment there because my wife has given birth before. So,
God bless you. I can't imagine. Thank you, Wayne, for the telephone call. I mean, that sounds just absolutely horrible. I'm putting a cap and a hard cap, no pun intended, on the Stones conversation with Cindy out of Fayetteville. Cindy, what's on your mind?
Hi, Matt. I have had kidney stones, and I've given birth, and kidney stones are far worse.
So,
far worse.
Was it natural childbirth?
It was not.
Okay.
They actually had to put me to sleep, but I was in labor for about 12 hours or so before they did that.
Wow.
So it was. I think that the difference is. And I can't speak to what guys go through. I know different orifice and different tubing and all that stuff. But with childbirth, you get all these hormones and enzymes and stuff that are secreted into your body that help you deal with the pain. When you have kidney stones, you're just dealing. You're just dealing. So I have to say that kidney stones are way worse than labor.
Well, I've been told it in the past, and I try to not make comment on it because obviously I've never, nor never will, give birth. But it's good to get an assessment from somebody that knows. You don't have trouble with the kidney stones anymore, right?
No, I gave up the Mountain Dew, and I stopped having problems.
Well, there you go. There you go. I'm sad that you had to give up the Mountain Dew because I love me a delicious Mountain Dew Zero or a Diet Mountain Dew. I do the calorie-free dews. Actually, my new weight loss program that I've been on for about 6 days tells you that they don't really care for the dew either. They want you to get away from that artificial sweetener. So that's kind of a bummer. So this is a very delicate subject. It always has been, considering the closeness and proximity and the nature of the subject that we're talking about. Obviously, I'm referring to the Covenant School massacre. Parents of two of the children who were murdered in that massacre have now spoken out, joining others in asking the Davidson County Chancellor, Laisha Miles, to keep the Covenant Killer Manifesto and other related documents locked from public view. The mother of Will Kinney, and the parents of Evelyn McMorey, it's Dickhouse, right? For a long time we were saying Dyke, but it's pronounced
yes,
Dickhouse, right?
It is.
All right, so the parents of Evelyn Dickhouse and William Kinney, two of the three 9-year-olds fatally shot in the mass shooting, have issued declaration letters to the court detailing the pain that they've been suffering and lambasting the media outlets and other organizations that are suing to have the records released. Aaron Kinney wrote, I have no desire to write this statement. I just want to read you the letter. Well, I tell you what, I won't read it in its entirety. It's 7 pages long. But I want to give you some of the pertinent information, because I don't pretend to understand the pain that this family is going through. Anytime you lose a child, it's painful. To lose it in this horrific way, this evil way. You know, I've made mention of the fact that my grandfather lost my uncle when my uncle was 18, almost 19 years of age in a car accident. And that pain, I'm certain, is unimaginable, in as much as it was his only son. He did have a daughter, my mother, but to lose a child in this type of violent and horrific way, I don't have any children, so I can't begin to comprehend it. Don't pretend to. But I believe this, and I'm curious, 615-737-9986, where you are on this. I believe that the reason that we remain a nation of the rule of law is because we have a robust monitoring system as to how our government does its job. That monitoring system involves we, the people, having access to all of the available information as to how our government does its business. And sometimes that information is messy, and sometimes it's tragic, and sometimes it is as painful as it can be. But without that ability to act as a check on government, the government will begin to take away basic civil rights. Every government in existence has done so. And while I believe in American exceptionalism, I do not for a moment believe that our government, this government, would not be willing to do so as well. For me, it has never been about the macabre interest so much as the oversight that we, the people, must act as in situations like this. I asked a good friend, I called someone that I know that also knows the families of some of the victims. And I think regular listeners among you, I've not asked him if I could share this, but I think most of you would, if you're a regular listener, would get who it is. They know the families, they know the school very well, and they know me very well. And I wanted to know if I was out of bounds here. I don't know that there's another case that has been like this. There have been cases of mass shooters leaving what might account or might amount to a manifesto in the form of a suicide letter or even a manifesto in and of itself. A lot of times those things are posted on social media sites and whatnot. But rarely is it the case that you have a paper trail of some 10 years of an individual leaving writings and ramblings, all of which collectively have been called the manifesto. So it is that the families are now weighing in, and theirs is almost an exclusively emotional appeal. The letter is hard to read because I understand the pain that the family is going through. And at some point, the mother in this case turns head first against the people asking for this information. And that's what I want to speak to. Aaron Kinney writes, I long for privacy and to be left alone from media intrusion, homicide investigations, and unwelcome legal battles. I do not want anyone beyond our local community to know our names, faces, or anything about us. I want to go back to March 25th and enjoy my family as it was, intact, vibrant, and whole, before an individual I've never met rampaged the Covenant School, savagely destroying my child's life and the lives of friends and beloved teachers and staff. She then goes on to say that the plaintiffs in the case, those that are desiring openness in government, don't, quote, care about the well-being of their fellow humans and, quote, seek to rob the 6 murder victims of dignity in their deaths by demanding the release of sensitive details. These petitioners have shown no respect or regard for my family or the hundreds of surviving Covenant trauma victims, even going so far as to shamefully deny their victimhood before you as they seek to publish and profit from the deranged, hateful, and exceedingly dangerous ramblings of an individual who renounced her humanity and gunned down children. With all due respect to Ms. Kinney, and once again, I'm hesitant to make this a conversation between myself and her, but I think she's wrong. I know that she's wrong about me. I don't desire to profit in this in any way. I do believe it's important that we keep a check and a monitor of our government's business. I do think it's important that we, as a public, get a full-throated explanation as best as we can understand it as to what happened. And it's not so much the intimate details of this case. This is unprecedented in a way that it will be and can be used in future cases like this. In as much as we want to know every detail about what Mohammed Atta was doing prior to getting in an airplane, taking it over, and flying it into the World Trade Center, the sensitivity of the case and the number of victims involved, if we apply this standard, would preclude us from knowing all of that information. Or whatever information we discover on scene could potentially, in a killer's sniper nest or wherever it might be. I'm thinking of Harvest Festival right now. It's entirely possible that you could make the same arguments about body cam footage showing an officer involved at shooting because it was your loved one that was gunned down and it would cause you additional pain. I understand that your emotions and the pain that you're experiencing is unimaginable. But I also understand that there is a possibility to have both. Whereas we can exclude, obviously, the more macabre or material that is not germane to the point of having a public records law. I'm talking about crime scene photos, autopsies, and the like. But still release portions of this in the public interest. What is the public interest, you might ask? For me, the public interest is to monitor and keep a check of government-involved relationships with the general public and to maintain a robust oversight into the government, and potentially to figure out as much as we can about how to prevent these types of things. And how in the world can we potentially do anything from a legal perspective to prevent the future shooting of children if we don't fully understand every aspect of how this person grew into the monster, the evil monster that she became? And the government should not be able to do that in darkness. The government needs to do that. Officials need to do that, but they have to do it in the light of day, in an open society. And I say that with as much respect for Ms. Kinney as I possibly can. Your thoughts? 615-737-9986. It's The Murphy Show. Oh, Dr. Gill, he helped so many people over the last 30 years alleviate their pain and stop taking pills or, I mean, goodness me. Have you ever had known someone, I'd never gotten to this point, but have you ever known somebody that had to take shots to prevent pain, like, these epidurals and whatnot? I mean, don't be that person. I mean, that's no way to live. If you could alleviate pain through decompression therapy or other forms of therapy at the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, like red light therapy, spinal decompression, I mentioned, class 5 laser therapy, all to pinpoint inflammation in the body, reduce pain, reduce swelling, and accelerate healing. If you could do this and eliminate the pills or eliminate the need for shots and eliminate the pain itself and live a better, healthier life, wouldn't you want to do that? I think you would want to do that. I think you do want to do that. So it's time to call the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin, 615-882-4838. 615-882-4838. Give them a call today. Start the program today and be a better you tomorrow. It's the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin.
Crews still trying to find a small submersible around 1,000 miles off of Cape Cod. Some crime right now in Tennessee with the home invasion over in Lebanon. Plus, the Tennessee Baseballs keep their hopes alive. That and more coming up, 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Would you please be a newsman and just say the baseball team? What did you say, the Baseballs?
The Baseballs.
That's shameful. I don't think that's anywhere in the AP style book. You call them the Baseballs.
Rocky Top.
I think every single listener, including me, will forgive your homerism as you report the news. It's tonight, right?
Yes, 6 p.m.
Rematch against LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Good team, those LSU Tigers. And you got to, if you win has LSU lost?
It's 1-1 right now. We came back. The Vols came back.
Well, I know that they beat Stanford, right? They lost to LSU, then they beat Stanford.
Yes.
And now it's an elimination game for both or just the Vols?
Just the Vols, I believe.
I get confused during the round
I think
robin.
it should be for the Tigers as
for
well.
everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, good luck. I'm rooting for them. I mean,
Heck yeah.
I'm not a Tennessee guy, but, I mean, Georgia, it's my understanding, doesn't have a baseball team in collegiate athletics. That's my understanding. At least I've not seen them around lately.
It's a one-sport school.
I think they, hey, easy. Whoa, we got, let's see. Through Georgia, we've got women's gymnastics. Also pretty good at swimming, but we can't beat Auburn. There you go. I think we've got women's gymnastics. I think we're okay at swimming. Golf. Hey, play that again. Play that again. Play that again. Pretty good at golf. Harris English did well in the U.S. Open. He is a Georgia grad. Got it. I think Harris English graduated from Georgia. I think. That's all I got. Okay. Back to the more serious news. I am attempting to be as sensitive to the family's needs on this as I possibly can. But at some point, we cannot be shamed into denying the public the information that the public has the right to see. And it felt to me like part of the letter, and I want y'all to know I'm attempting to be as sensitive as humanly possible to Erin Kinney and what she's gone through. But portions of her open declaration to the court seemed like she was trying to shame me and shame you into shutting up. And I don't think that's right. Insinuating, not just insinuating, saying that there is no interest other than a bad one that we would have. These petitioners have shown no respect or regard for my family. Ma'am, I disagree. I'm not a petitioner to the case, but I support the petition. And I've been as sensitive and respectful as humanly possible. Going on to say, even go so far as to shamefully deny their victimhood before you as they seek to publish and profit from the deranged, hateful, exceedingly dangerous ramblings of an individual who renounced her humanity and gunned down children. Well, I have no interest in trying to teach or help Erin Kinney understand how the rule of law works, but it has to be emotionless. You cannot base the rule of law, in this regard, the rule of public information, the rules about when the public can see information and when the public cannot see information based on feelings. Let's talk to Carol in Hendersonville. Hey, Carol. Hope you're well.
Hi, good.
Actually, Carol, I just looked up at my clock, and I'm sorry to do this. I'm going to put you back on hold because it's 33 after the hour. Got to do this real quick. The news is coming up. Mac Morey's been patiently waiting, and we'll get back to your calls momentarily on The Murphy Show.
.233, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 78 degrees, and most of Middle Tennessee experiencing some showers off and on. It's going to be wet and dreary pretty much all week. Storms expected on and off. Got a full weather forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. And it is a race against time, nearly 1,000 miles off the coast of Cape Cod, as crews try to find a small vessel with 5 passengers that are still on board. They were supposed to tour the wreckage of the Titanic. The vessel, operated by private company OceanGate, is thought to be thousands of feet below sea level. The people on board have enough oxygen until Thursday, so the U.S. Coast Guard, along with the Canadian Forces and a commercial vessel, are all trying to locate it. Luis Martinez says crews have deployed a remote submersible in the area, which is trying to establish contact.
What they're using right now is an ROV from a commercial vessel, not from the U.S. Navy or from the Coast Guard. This is from a commercial vessel that happened to be in the area. And so but there are also limitations on the depths to which it can go. But it shows you that they're trying to figure out exactly where the submersible may be. Is it at the bottom of the ocean right now? Is it potentially somewhere in an area where it could rise up?
And the vessel was supposed to float back to the surface after any possible malfunction. And the CEO of OceanGate, Stockton Rush, is one of the 5 people that are on board. Crime right now in Tennessee. Channel 4 says that one man was arrested and another on the loose after an alleged shooting at a home in Lebanon this morning, injuring 2 residents. Both suspects fled the scene as officers arrived. One left in a car, the other ran away on foot. Officials eventually captured the suspect who drove away after he crashed. 21-year-old Andrew Satellino is now in custody. Officials still looking for the other suspect, who's described as a, quote, younger black male with a smaller build wearing a hooded sweatshirt, and both injured residents remain hospitalized. And in sports, the Tennessee Volunteers baseball team lives to play another day in the College World Series. They came back from 4-0 deficit on Monday to eliminate Stanford by a score of 6-4. And now the Vols will face LSU today at 6 p.m. in what is another elimination game. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Obviously, when it comes to large home repairs, a lot of times homeowners want to pretend it's not there. It doesn't exist, and they feel like if they do that, they can avoid it, make it go away. Well, when it comes to your foundation of your home or water issues at your home, you can't make it go away. I promise you. I've been there, done that. I mean, I wish I knew USS when I lived in Birmingham, Alabama. Let me tell you the story. USS is United Structural Systems, and they simply are the best when it comes to repairing your home, with foundation repair at their fingertips, waterproofing at their fingertips, and concrete leveling. The concrete leveling is where I want to talk about, because I spent a lot of money getting my driveway repaired. If I had known about the USS Polylift system, which is just a dramatic modern improvement into the way that you handle the situation. You can lift the concrete back up, get it back into position. Work can be done in a couple of hours. You can drive on it like 30 minutes later. You can walk on it immediately. No unsightly patches or blemishes. It's moisture resistant. Polyurethane will never wash out over time. I mean, it is tip top, and it's offered at USS. They have quality, reputation, expertise, and integrity. Choose the best. Choose USS. Homeowners have trusted them since 1994, and I know that you can as well. So if you have issues, they have answers. 615-488-7855, 488-7855 for USS or USSTN.com. You know, I was typing a response on the super text line because, believe it or not, I do respond. And I'm going to choose not to respond via typing, and I want to respond to all of you based on a conversation that was started by a super texter, 7057. And 7057 says, Matt, please let it go. This was at 2:30. And then your show today is crashing to the people of Nashville. And I'm assuming he means, Bell, you responded to, I'm assuming he means crushing, not crashing. Your show today is crashing to the people of Nashville. Please let it go. And I'm assuming he means crushing to the people of Nashville. And I said, let what go? I really didn't understand. And he said, discussion about the murders, have some respect for the families. And Bell, who sometimes responds to you on the super text feed, Bell and I respond. I think we're the best responding show on the radio.
Oh, without a doubt. I
don't think it's even question.
Just like this show takes more calls than all the other put together, you get more response on the super text.
Yeah, baby. For better or worse. What you shaking your head? What?
No, that's fine.
Is that not true?
9 to noon does pretty well.
I understand that your allegiances run deep in the afternoon hours. I get it. I understand that Brian Wilson in your world is far more important than Matt Murphy. I understand that.
I was saying 9 to noon. I don't think I wouldn't advocate.
Okay, sure. I guess Pamela Furr's important. Pamela Furr's in that 9 to noon slot right now, and I think she's very responsive, very caller intensive. No doubt about that.
But you're right. You make the monologue a dialogue.
I try to. Back to this case, because this is important. Discussion about the murders, have some respect for the families. And Bell says he's being respectful. We cannot trust government to do the right thing ever. Government cares less about the families than Matt does by a long shot. And I wouldn't say that's for all of the people in government. But here's what government does do, and here's my interest in all of this. If you allow this to move forward in the manner that it is, let's say the judge decides that the third parties who were not original parties to the case, believe it or not, in a circumstance like this, the families of the victims are not a party to this case. They were allowed to be a party to the case because of the sensitive nature of it. The case is between the media and the public and the government. And the government holding information that is deemed to be in the public interest. The Open Records Act in the state of Tennessee clearly delineates that which must be made public versus that which can be held private. We do not operate in a government that holds on to information and doesn't let the public see the information without a good reason. And right now it's being decided whether or not the government, in the form of the Metro Nashville Police Department and by consequence the FBI, whether or not they have a good enough reason to withhold this information. The judge, in an abundance of caution, allowed the family members to become a part of this because of the sensitive nature of the subject at hand. But really, the subject at hand, in a broader sense, doesn't matter. It is about the manner of government that we have and the manner of government that we want. But if this case, unique in American jurisprudence, I've not found one like it. If it is decided in favor of the Metro Nashville Police Department and by extension the coveted school, understand this case will be used as precedent. I expect that it will eventually be appealed if it lost, but it is a precedent-setting case as far as I can find in terms of allowing third parties to affect the outcome of an open records case in this fashion. That means the next time that we have a murder case in our city and a family affected by said murder case goes to the court and appeals to not have certain aspects of the case revealed to the public for their own reasons, that we now have laid down precedent by which they can make an argument that they should be allowed to do so. And I'm fearful of that, because it's the government preventing us from seeing this on the part of the families. They're on the same side of this, and the rest of the public is on the other side of the ledger. So my friend on the super text line followed up by saying, thank you for responding. It's just my opinion. It's a very, very sensitive topic to be discussing at this point in time. Well, death is always a sensitive topic to discuss. I don't know that there's ever a good time to talk about somebody dying, especially someone who's 9 years old. But these are adult subjects that need to be discussed, because if we're not allowed to talk about this, then should we not talk about stories having to do with death at all? And if you say, well, no, Matt, that's ridiculous, you've got to talk about, well, then where's the line? You tell me where that line is. Now, I suppose for 7057, I've somehow crossed it 3 months after the event happened, and as sensitive as I'm trying to be to it. I'm being as respectful as I know how to be, at the same time disagreeing vehemently with the family members that suggest that anybody that wants this information is just out for macabre interest or rubbernecking or money. And that is not true. At least it's not for me. Now, I'm not a petitioner in the case, but I support them. Now, Carol is in Hendersonville, perhaps with a different thought on all of this, and she's patiently held. Thank you, Carol, for your patience.
Thank you for taking the call. Okay, I was going to say one thing, and then your last speech kind of not changed my mind, but I have sympathy for both sides, or I understand about setting the precedent, and that's very concerning about the government and that kind of thing. I understand that this situation, because it's not like 9/11. You know, it's 9/11, it was political. It wasn't so personal to the individuals, except that they died, and that's personal. But with this, being a transgender person, and I don't know what was in the transcripts, but, you know, if she's making any kind of sexual references to people that she knew before that were there, or anything just about, you know, killing kids and how seeing their deaths would be blah, 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 that to me is difficult for a family to take. And I know if it was your child or your family or any of us, we just wouldn't want this to go on and on and on forever and to be part of public history. So, you know, if they can just say, you know, we don't want our names exposed and we don't want this to be just to go on and on. We know the person is, you know, was crazy, and maybe that's all you need to know. But I understand about the precedent, and I think that's very important. And if you would allow me, I just want to make one comment about that LGBT movement and all this.
Yeah, sure.
I guess I just want to say about that is, you know, what people seem to miss is that we are expected to, we're almost being forced to validate someone's sexual preferences. We don't do that with, you know, you don't run around saying, hey, I'm an adulterer, or hey, I'm a fornicator, or hey, I'm a this, and then we have to validate that. With the LGBT, you know, we have to, it's like we're being forced to validate their sexual preferences and their sexual behavior. And although we can love them and love the person and not like the behavior, we're being forced to accept and validate everything. And the thing about it is, once you establish certain behaviors and your identity is based on those behaviors, it's hard to separate the people from their behaviors after a while. And I hope this stops where, you know, we have to keep validating these people because of their sexual preferences. I don't want to know about your sexual preferences. Why do I have to know about them and validate you for that? I don't know.
Well, and, you know, part of, I agree with you that it seems, you know, I'll use the gay community as an example because there's more of them, and it is widely the live and let live attitude. And I think the vast majority of the gay community would like to see the minority that gets so much attention. I would like to see them go by the wayside. I think, for example,
But, you know, this is liberalism at its best. Liberalism is trying and attempting to destroy the norm. That's their goal. They want to create chaos in our society. And if they can destroy all of our norms, you know, where you see and all of our children perceive all these behaviors as normal. And this is what the problem is they're going to try to cause a major shift in what our world looks like in the future. And I'm sick of having to validate people based on their sexual behavior.
And you hit on my I mean, I'm not worried about anybody going back into the closet. You hit on my frustration. And that is your sexual. I mean, if your world is defined by your sexuality, then that's all well and good. You get to live that life of your choosing, but don't force me to live under those same parameters. My daily life is not defined by my sexuality. And for years, the homosexual community argued that they're just like us. They just are attracted to the same sex couples as opposed to the opposite sex. Well, if you're just like me, every public outing doesn't involve sexuality. So I think the gay community largely believes in that concept, and I know enough gay people to know that is the case, and that they're not represented by, the New York Gay Pride Parade or whatever it might be. But it seems that transgender people not only insist that you recognize they exist, they insist that you accept their existence as they define it, even if it defies biology. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lie to make you feel better. I'm not. Do I have time for Kevin? I don't think I do. Maybe on the other side, Kevin, but not here. It's 2:52. You're listening to Super Talk, The Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Paul Winkler is good at what he does. You don't need me to tell you that. You hear him every weekend, and you know that Paul is the master at investment strategy and financial planning. Now, Paul pays me when I talk about him on the radio during the Matt Murphy Show. I don't mind him doing that, and I'm legally obligated to tell you that I get paid, but I don't get paid to be a client, and I'm a client too. I've learned about Paul's message. I decided to become a client. I'm impressed with his knowledge of the financial world. I love his approach to planning and investment. First and foremost, he makes sure that everything that he talks about is easy to understand and it's understood by you before you step forward. A lot of times these investment strategists, they talk over your head. They do that intentionally. Paul never does that. There's no kids fresh out of school at any of the 10 offices to serve you. You're going to see a difference. Do what I did. Go talk to one of his team members about financial investment and financial planning. Set up a free 15-minute telephone conversation right now. PaulWinkler.com. That's PaulWinkler.com, or give him a call, 615-851-1950, 851-1950.